Mr. Olugbele is a member of the economic think tank at Financial Derivatives Company. Of course, those folks already predicting that inflation would go a little bit higher for the month of December, and we're expecting those numbers straight from the Statistics Office on Thursday, according to the calendar. So let's see what's in that look-back data for you, but you need to look forward. So we're going to ask a few questions about the outlook for January inflation. Now that the kids are back in school, folks, well, some still paying rents and things like that, and we still have a few more spendings to do. So all of that, she's going to talk to us. Temitope, it's good to have you. Thank you very much. It's nice to have you here in the year, or in the new year, as it were. Good news, the Naira appreciated yesterday about 0.28% on the street, what's it called, the parallel market, then about 0.18% at the I&E window. Does this look like this is the beginning of a turning the corner for the local currency, for the local unit?
Hopefully it is. Hopefully it would be a trend and not just a blip, because, you know, the CBN is doing its possible best to defend the Naira ahead of the election. So they're using techniques like the OMO sales and, you know, their forex intervention. So far in the year, they've intervened about $600 million. So hopefully they are able to keep up the interventions and defend the Naira.
Yeah,
so
everyone would like the Naira a little bit. Again, the regulator, the central bank, came in very aggressively in the new year to try and manage the Naira-dollar relationship again. And I think this was good news when we see the Naira at 362 to the dollars at Monday this week. So while it looks like everybody's getting back into business, maybe a bit of the demand and interplay with whatever supply is now beginning to come into full play now that everybody seems to be back at work. Then this happened on the same day that the stock exchange index crept out of its dark holes, as it were, at the new year, and had about 0.5% gain.
Yes, so the ASI is now climbing towards 30,000 back, 30,000 points, and, you know, so the stock exchange is really dependent on two things: it's confidence and the earnings season. So as we slowly approach the earnings seasons, it's looking like investors are taking positions and, you know, they're bargain hunting ahead of, you know, companies declaring their dividends. But obviously the confidence factor, because of the elections, political tensions and everything, is still going to have an effect. But hopefully the bargain hunting techniques and everything would outweigh the confidence factor in the market.
Okay, those are some of the burning economic issues, but what are the big stories still? The inflation that we're looking forward to on Thursday. You folks, your team believes that we'll see a bit of an uptick to about 11.3.
Yes, so we're projecting inflation to increase from 11.28% in November to 11.37% in December, and that's like 9 basis points increase. And this is because, you know, December is typical for consumers to spend because of, you know, the festivities around. And so that increased demand, we saw that some commodities, we already saw an uptick in some commodity prices like Gary, and so we expect that to feed into the headline inflation. Although we're projecting a decline in month-on-month inflation, and that's because of, you know, we saw that manufacturing activities improved. If you look at the PMI figures for December, there was an increase in that. So hopefully our target is right, and we would get to know what it is on Thursday.
When we begin to see the uptick in headline inflation, that was the outlook was that would start happening from around August, September last year, at least toward the end of last year. But there's a bit of a pullback, very gentle, and then you folks think that we're now on that consensus, as it were, home and abroad, that yes, we're going to see inflation turn higher. What will be the major factor contributing to that?
So of course, if the obvious one and the most, the one that would happen anytime from now is the minimum wage review. So that would definitely pump money into the system, and of course, increased money supply would lead to increase in inflation. So, but if you look at other Naira liquidity drivers like election spending, we are a month away from the elections now. So election spending is really at its peak now, and it would continue to boost naira liquidity, and that
It doesn't look like anybody's spending so much money on the elections. Excuse me, I can see. Well, maybe it hasn't gotten here,
maybe.
but I haven't seen anybody spending money. We're just about, today's the 15th of January, elections, presidential election in 4 weeks' time.
Yes, of February, 16th of February, yes.
And you're telling me I haven't seen any money.
So
this is the driest non-spending. No, let's just push. Okay, yeah, well, there'll be some spending, a few radio adverts and whatever. You look at the newspapers, I don't see all those wraparound of that cost millions of all the newspapers and all of that. It's not happening this year.
Maybe because it's like, it feels like literally this year is different from 2015 because of, voter apathy and everything. But with every election season, there has to be election spending. It's a must, or it's a given, if you will. So it is happening, but maybe at a slower pace compared to 2015.
Is there any money around for anyone to? Is there any money for anyone to throw around? Not likely.
Well, at a slower pace than 2015, maybe, but there will be.
No, I'm not trying to put you in a very tight corner. So we should just focus. Maybe we should focus more on the minimum wage.
Yes.
Because the minimum wage is going to be every month. And so that's steady inflow. There's nothing we can do about it. It's not going to stop. Once you turn on the tap, you can turn it off, technically speaking. So we don't have an idea what the size of the new minimum wage will be. We can't put a figure to it here. But it will run into hundreds of billions, whichever way we look at it. So we need to add that to our inflation conversation.
Definitely.
That's where we're going.
Definitely. So like I said, it's the naira liquidity driver that is going to happen any time from now, because they're submitting a bill on January 23rd. Plans are in process to kickstart this thing, and so that would definitely lead to a spike in inflation. So that is what the consumer should be looking out for, and how to hedge against that.
So no matter how the central bank gets very creative about using treasuries and what have you to mop it up, there will still be a few billions flowing into
the system.
Domestic.
Yeah, so hopefully, because the MPC meeting is next week, Monday and Tuesday. So, and the governor has said that they're going to give like a direction for their monetary policy this year. So hopefully we see that they have some spot-on strategies to attack and curb inflation. So let's just.
I'm sure both electoral spending and the minimum wage will be on top of what Gordon Emefiele and the rest of his team will be working on right now, and trying to sniff around what is the likely expectation of the figure coming through. Maybe working with the Ministry of Finance to give them an idea, and the tools they will be ready to deploy. Maybe as early as the end of the first quarter.
Definitely, even before the end of the first quarter, if they want to attack it immediately. So, yes, definitely, they need to look at all these things. External reserves, the volatility was up today, it's flat, it's down.
Oil prices.
So all prices up today. So, yeah, they would definitely need to look at that US Fed, what their projections are for if they're going to keep increasing
what
rates.
What happens today with the Brexit vote?
Definitely, today is a key day, one of the key days
that
for
looks
Brexit.
like a burning train.
Yeah, yes.
That's the Brexit. Looks like a burning train. But again, sympathize with those folks. So let's talk a little bit about something. What was about the sesame seed? I knew Sesame Street, that very nice sitcom, as it were, back then, 70s and 80s. So when I saw Sesame Street, and I said, I just went straight back to see Sesame Street. I love it. I was a kid. Well, kids love it. Adults love that Sesame Street. So what about the sesame seed? And this looks like a multi-billion-dollar agro product, globally speaking.
Definitely. Sesame seed there's a burning market for it now. There's a hot market for it. And yes, Nigeria has done a lot. We are fourth globally and second in SSC, but there's still so much we can do there. So right now we're producing about 500,000.
What does it really do? Sesame seed. Bring me up to speed. I'm getting old here.
Okay, so sesame seeds is made up of like 50% oil, and then the rest is protein. So you can imagine the health benefit. The sesame oil is used for industrial purposes like manufacturing of cosmetics and all that kind of stuff, soap. So it is really useful, and then for the health benefits, again, it cannot be overlooked. And so it's a hot market. If you look into a country like Japan, they have like this sushi culture, so it's used as a topping for sushi too. So that's one of our major destinations for.
So if we look at what we're doing in Nigeria, and I'm looking at the next page of this, that shows the area where we produce this in Nigeria, and that's part of our conflict zone.
Yes,
in the manner of speaking.
Yes, unfortunately, because sesame seeds is grown in the northern tropical region, so we see it in Jigawa, Nasarawa, Benue, but because of the pastoral conflict in these regions, we have seen like a slight decline in export earnings from...
And flooding in Jigawa State, for example, thousands and thousands of farmlands were lost.
Yes, and that's our major...
Jigawa State, yes.
Yeah,
so perhaps some of these were lost to the folks who are producing sesame seeds from Jigawa State.
Yeah, and that is the top producing state of sesame seeds, so in Nigeria. So we have those kind of challenges. There's also the challenge of the quality. So because there's such a huge market for it and there are other producers, we are in competition with Tanzania, with India for the market for these commodities. So basically, that challenge has hindered our export earnings, and so we find that our export earnings can be so much more. We have a potential of 1 million tons, and so we need to improve the quality of our sesame seeds.
Also, if we're looking at about 500,000 metric tons, fetching us about roughly $430 million in a $4.15 billion
market.
Mark. That's still scratching.
So we need investors, definitely.
So we need to get deeper into sesame seeds.
And increasing.
Thank you. I'll see you some other time.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you here. Okay, so let's move on a little bit and talk about doing business in Nigeria. Let's review a bit of what we did in 2018 and what's the outlook from the Buhari's administration in the election new year. This is what Dr. Jumoke Oduwole told our audience a few days ago. I'll recap that for you. Take a listen when we come back.